How we doing, guys? My guest today is going to be Ben Cavet. Ben is a freestyle mogul skier for Team France. He's a two-time Olympian. He's got 22 World Cup podiums, 2 wins, and multiple World Championships medals. In this episode, we go through and discuss Ben's career so far, what got him into skiing and winter sports, and we talk about what continues to drive him each and every day to get better and be the best that he can be. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks. And there you go.
Oh, it's asking me if I'm all good. Let's go for it.
Perfect. Ben, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I really do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to have a good chat.
Yeah, it's good. I know as we were touching before you came on, before we did this live, you're getting some good kind of fitness training and stuff in right now before you kind of head to water ramps and then kind of on to fall training, right?
Yeah, so September, end of August, beginning of September is always, it's an exciting time because you've done a lot of fitness training, so you're feeling pretty good, pretty fresh, ready to go. And it's been a while since I haven't skied, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully get some good fall training this year.
And is it more exciting kind of knowing that you're building up and you're going into another Olympic year kind of coming up?
Yeah, I guess that, the Olympics, and obviously because the Summer Olympics were pushed back a year, I was watching a lot of them. And when you're watching the Summer Olympics, obviously you're thinking about the Winter Olympics coming up. So that was getting me pretty hyped. But I guess mostly it's looking at the calendar and seeing so many World Cups on. That's always been just a dream of mine to have a crazy, wild, long season in World Cup. Because it's just crazy, our sport, we do so much training. There's just such a long period of training for such a short period of competition.
Right.
So, the more comps we can get, the happier I am, I guess.
Yeah.
It's rare in sports to have, 8 months of training for only four months of competition, 3 months of competition. So.
And those runs are so short as well. It's like all that training for 30 seconds. At a long course, right? Deer Valley, even shorter than that, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Seconds.
25 seconds in it, yeah. So, it's pretty short, pretty intense.
Now, one of the things I was just kind of curious about, how did you kind of find your way into did you always grow up as a skier? I know you moved to France when you're about 10, 11, but was skiing kind of always part of growing up for you?
Yeah, I guess sport has always been a part of my life. Skiing, my dad, for the story, my dad is a ski instructor. Okay. So that's how I began to ski. So I guess like we'd go on skiing on family holidays. And my dad used to be a ski instructor, but on those plastic slopes in Great Britain. And it's just crazy, for a country that doesn't have any snow and mountains, England is just, so in love with skiing. So I didn't, I didn't really, know what mogul skiing was when I was living in the UK. I was playing football and cricket, pure British sports. And then because my dad was working as a ski instructor in France, the whole family moved over, and it's at that time when I was 10, as you said, that I started mogul skiing.
And so, what kind of was it about getting into the bumps? That kind of sparked your interest?
Yeah, so I guess it was the jumps at first. I really liked watching the jumps. I got into trampolining at the same time when I arrived in France. So at first it was the jumps that brought me to it, and then it was the skiing that made me stick to it. I remember just, even now, I remember as a kid just seeing the good mogul skiers coming down. You just saw the knees pumping up and down. And that was just, a magical sight for me when I was young. And I wanted to do the same. So, but it's always been this thing with sport. When I used to play football, I wanted to be a professional footballer. When I played cricket, the same thing. It's just the coolest thing. You're having so much fun on your skis or doing whatever sport you do, and you're just like, well, if I can become professional, if I can continue doing this is, it's going to be the best life ever. So that's always how I've seen sport.
And so going through, like, kind of what were those first like breakthrough moments for you in the kind of training and through the buildup that you realized like, okay, I can actually I want to be a professional, but this is giving me the confidence, like, okay, I'm actually getting better. I'm seeing that improvement, and I'm making my way to the next step?
So when I was a kid at Chitel Club, we went to see the 2006 Olympics in Turin.
Okay.
And I don't really have like an Olympic memory of watching the TV, but seeing it in real life, night event in Turin, and just, getting shivers and, being all dreamy when you're watching the event. And then that evening, the coach says, "Oh, well, hopefully you guys will be there one day." And so I guess that's where like the Olympic dream was born.
Mm-hmm. That kind of sparked it for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So kind of moving forward past that, I mean, you end up being junior world champion. You kind of make your ways and your steps up. And, last season you had a great year and kind of a challenging year because, I mean, you go through, you have COVID, as you talked about earlier, you want a really long World Cup season. I mean, the World Cup season last year was butchered apart, and it was essentially like 4 events, So, I mean, that was the shortest World Cup season you could think of.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. So to come a bit back, so I got into World Cup when I was pretty young, 17, 2012, and the season before 2011, I'd done some really good runs. I was starting to get really good, but then it took me a little while to put my good runs down in World Cup, just because the environment was different, and it just so obviously I'd have loved to perform straight away.
Right.
On World Cup, but it's just sent me on this journey of like trying to figure out my mental game, and it's just sent me on this journey of self-improvement. So and that's something that I'm really passionate about, so that's why I like having talks like tonight, and I think I'm onto something really good at the moment. And I think that last year, as you said, it was such a short season, but when I did compete, I felt really good. I had like all these good sensations that you want to have when you're in a competition, just like better runs in the competition than training, super focused in, laser focus. And because the season was so short, I didn't think I had, enough time to fully show off what I'm capable of now. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to next season. Yeah.
Yeah. And the amazing thing in watching your career, I mean, you're such a dynamic skier and such a great jumper, and there was kind of this big buildup. I think it was like 2016, I want to say, World Championships was kind of, you skied really well there in Spain. And then you kind of set the tone to get a couple top threes in the world. And then it was almost like a little bit of a disappointing, like it was kind of felt like, wow, okay, Cavet's ready. He's coming out. This is his coming out party. Like he's just building. And then there was like a little bit of like almost like a step back, like you. And I feel like that's part of the growth as an athlete, though. You kind of need to have those setbacks and some of those, you still finished 6th in the world, but it wasn't like, it was just like, okay, it wasn't like you were awful or anything, but, 6th in the world is pretty damn good. I'd take that. But still, you see this kind of path going, but I feel like that kind of helps you in the long run in kind of, as you're saying, working out that mental game.
Yeah. So, as you said, that's something that's really interesting because, like in 2014, I had a breakthrough year or a breakthrough competition at the Olympics. Mm-hmm. But then the World Cup just after that, I messed them up. And then, as you said, I had a really good season 2016, 2017, but I still managed to mess up my 2018 season. So it just goes to prove that it never gets easy. Because you often, when you're a young athlete, you often fantasize and you're like, oh, at the moment I'm struggling to get into the final, but when I'll be getting finals all the time, it will, it'll be easy, I'll be happy then,
Yeah.
But then you just realize that once you've got into the final all the time, but then you just hit with new challenges all the time, because then it's not finals that you have to get all the time; it's top 10s, and then it's top, it's the super finals. And, to not be progressing, to just stay at the same level, it's almost going backwards, because all the other guys are getting so much better. You look at the runs that were getting wins and podiums in in 2012, 2014, well, you know, now the runs are so much better. So even if you have one season top 3 in the world, you still got to push and get better. And sometimes, you know, you push a bit too hard. And I think that's what happened to me for that 2018 season. So, so I'm looking forward to having a good Olympic season as well.
Yeah. And how much has those kind of experiences kind of helped build into it? I mean, you've been to a couple Olympics. You've had one where no one really expected you to, you know, it's kind of, as you said, like your coming out party, really good result. And then you had one where maybe you had a little bit more expectations on yourself. Like, I've been here before. Now it's time, like, you know, I'm expecting to perform well here. A little bit of a setback. And I mean, the shitty thing about the Olympics and the great thing is that it's once every 4 years. And when you're doing a 25-second run, I mein, that's a lot of training that goes into this big peak and expectations and everything else.
Yeah. I guess one thing that helps me is I don't train just specifically for the Olympics. You know, I train because I like doing it. So, you know, that's because, as I said, I don't, you know, in mogul skiing, I find, you know, because I was saying it's 8 months of training without a single competition. So if your only objective is to do well in competition, and the only thing that you like doing is winning, I just find it must be hard because it's a long time to go without competition. Right. So yeah, I'm just enjoying my training at the moment. Staying pretty calm. Not change. You know, just staying pretty focused on my training without thinking about the Olympics too much. Right. And then like this season, you know, we didn't have many competitions, but we still had the world champs. And then we had I was playing for the globe until the end of the season, and you know, unfortunately that the last race didn't happen, but I still like lived through those times of like, you know, lots of pressure, you know, because we were still heading into the last events with the possibility to win a globe and the world champs, you know, which are a one-day event similar to the Olympics. And it's just, you know, you just learn a lot. You just see your body going through the pressure, lots of stress, and you just see how you react, and that helps to prepare for the Olympic Games. And that kind of mental game you've been talking about, that you've really been working on, and that you kind of appreciate, like what are those things that kind of help you stay focused in the summer training in those 8 months? And I know clearly there's a passion and enjoyment, because there has to be, or else you wouldn't be doing it. Yeah. So I would say, and this is something I've been thinking a lot about recently, is you even now, like I've been doing this for so long, but you still need to stay connected to your reason, I'd call it, you know, your why do you ski moguls, why do you compete? And when I was growing up as a kid, you know, as I said, I just say that I'm a dreamer, right? And so I need just to continue to tap into that energy. So like when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of videos, and, you know, dream about when I'd be in World Cup, you know, under the lights, you know, dream about that moment when you're up at the start gate ready to drop in. And as I said, I never dreamt about winning an Olympic medal. Right. But what I dreamt about was being in the start gate and just, you know, feeling like that, you know, feeling those sensations and feeling that, you know, just feeling strong, feeling like you're ready to put on a show. And so, yeah, I need to stay connected to that. Right. And then one thing that helps me for competition is just being as calm as possible, and staying away from just being overstimulated. So I'll cut out lots of distractions the week of competition, and basically in my whole life, you know, I just find it easier to just, if I'm watching a film, then I'm just trying to stay focused 100% on the film, or just give myself to 100% of what I'm doing. Yeah. Instead of getting distracted by things. So yeah, just cutting out, doing a bit of, you know, being a bit calm. Even like sometimes I did a really good run once in Ruka in the 2019 season, and just the night before I was just like cleaning up my apartment, you know, just doing boring stuff. It's good to be bored sometimes, you know, because it just saves up some of that energy, you know. Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, it's such a interesting
thing is the mental game in most sports. It's what the most important thing, and especially that confidence as it builds. I always say as a coach, like confidence is the hardest thing to gain and the easiest thing to lose. When you got it, I mean, you were just going and no one's stopping your momentum, but like you lose it and then you're like, okay, you're trying to second guess. Well, okay, well, what was I doing before? How did I warm up this way? Is that the right way? Like, this is kind of that same feeling. And it's just, it is one of those things that once you got it and once you're in that mode, everything just clicks and seems to make sense. But it's difficult to kind of find that path, but being bored is definitely a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's just to save, save some energy,
Sure.
Not getting too hyped up the day before, the night before, because, you just need to save that energy and all that energy you need to put it into your run. But yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, because sometimes, when the confidence is there and when you're doing well, it just seems like it's the easiest thing in the world. You're just turning up, you're skiing well. But once you lose it, you're like, oh, and it just seems so complicated sometimes. So, but it is complicated, because obviously you're trying to do something that's pretty hard, trying to be the best in the world at something. So,
and there's it's
going to be pretty complicated.
There's a lot of different things that go on in there, upstairs and on the course. You never know what the course is going to do each and every different day, and how much that kind of changes, and bumps and jumps. There's a lot going on there in 25 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. Did I hear in a podcast that you're studying psychology?
I actually just finished the degree. That's why I've had a little bit of a break this summer, because I was finishing up, but I finally got that done. So that's happy to have awesome. That. And it's really helped a lot with coaching. And that's kind of why I got into it, because it was something that really interested me, and kind of sports psych and going.
So it is for sports psych orientated?
We'll see if I end up deciding to go back for a PhD. Right now, I just have the undergrad on it, and we'll see. Hopefully, if I want to spend the time and figure out and dissect a little bit more, I might continue to go down that path. But it's been super interesting, and it's part of the reason why I started this podcast. Is I just want to pick and everyone's minds on what drives them, like what is it that drives Ben Cavet to be the best that he can each and every day. And that's super, super interesting to learn about.
Yeah. So just two things that have come to mind, talking about when you're, you're confident and things seem easy, and then if you lose it, sometimes you can just overthink it. It just brings something to mind, like I've got this new sports psych who is, he's also a golf coach. And so we're talking about the routine, the routine, because they have it a lot in golf, before hitting the ball, they'll always do the same stuff, right? And I've always seen a routine as something that you had to do, but not something that you could, overdo. You couldn't like go over it. And it's interesting examples, like if a golfer, he's playing well on the first 9 holes, then he's like, oh, wow, I'm doing well here. I need to stay first. So he wants to do even better. So his routine, instead of taking him 5 seconds, like it normally does, when he starts to, I'm going to check this, I'm going to check this an extra time. And so it starts, lasting 10 seconds. So it is something that you can overthink and overdo. So that was an interesting one for me this season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like it came together at the end of the year. I mean, you finished the season, obviously skied really well in Kazakhstan there. It was exciting to see. Now, where did some of that, because I feel like everyone that's in the world of mogul skiing or skiing in general has a certain style that they kind of pick and choose, and they see, everyone's got their own flair to it. And that's what I love about the sport. And I know, like for me growing up, skiing, I'm always like I'm a little bit taller for a bump skier. I'm about 6 foot, which so I always loved like Jean-Luc's like range and like super dynamic, a little bit of Dale in there. You'd have Jan. I mean, there's a few different people you kind of pull and choose from. I always loved Gibo Kola at the end there. I mean, his run at Deer Valley was just, I loved his skiing at the end. So I was just curious for you, like, who are those people? Because you have such a unique, great turn and great style. I mean, everything's attacking and aggressive. So I'm just kind of curious, who are kind of some of those influences?
Yeah, well, I'd say it'd definitely be, Gilbo was obviously, because he's French. So, and it always tends to be, you know, if the best skier from a country is skiing a certain way, then the whole country's technique will be pushed a bit in that direction. So obviously he was a big influence. And then I'd say, you know, I'd say some Dale for sure. I'd love to have Dale a bit more in my slowing down. You know, like sort of, you know, that Calgary 2010 run.
Sure.
Where he's coming down into the wall and he just really clamps down on some turns, just going a bit higher up, getting away from all the trough.
Yep.
I'd love to have a bit more of that in my skiing even now. I'd love to have some more Bilodemer landings. So I had mixed influences.
And so was Gibo like one of the first ones for you as you watching competitions, you know, over there, like, because you talked about the Olympics and kind of not any particular person, but kind of after that, as you're getting into the sport, is that with Dale, him that you kind of really looked up to and like, okay, like.
Yeah. So, because they were obviously just, you know, just the generation before me. And then when I got more into the sport, I you know, I found people like Jean-Luc Bassard. And Jean-Luc Bassard is amazing because, you know, it was a different time, but everything that he was doing and everything that he was saying in certain videos is so relevant still now. You know, these principles of you know, keeping the back straight and just, you know, keeping that angle straight. Because Gilbert had he had extension in his skiing.
Yep.
And almost the extension, like, why are you doing it? Why do you want to, you know, because if you've got enough speed, you can create the loss of contact by just placing it through the turns. You don't need to get all this. Yeah. And if you're coming back to the point of at the point of impact to a more forwards position just because you want to tip over,
right?
It's just like that is, you know, why you're doing that, and maybe that hurt his back a little bit, just overexertion of the back muscles.
Sure.
So yeah, just different things technically which are interesting.
Yeah, and no, it's always interesting to go back and like, I'm a total mogul nerd in the fact that I was talking with Nick about it, that I got to like, you know, we'll have to break out all the VHS I got downstairs because I got a bunch of World Cups and everything else. It's pretty fun. And they were also skiing like, you know, 195s back in the day. So it's interesting how they're able to you know, create that dynamic skiing and everything else. So it's fun to watch, and it's fun to see how much the sport's kind of changed and continues to be exciting and dynamic. And the skiing, you know, the people that do it really well at the top level, it is extremely, it's still very dynamic as the bumps and everything has kind of changed. But
and I think people who do it well, it's also it's a very efficient movement. Because I you know, you tell people that you're a mogul skier and they say, oh, how are your back and how are your knees? You know, of
course,
that's like every single person will ask those questions, right? And I just love those questions because I love to, you know, say no. You know, my back and my knees are fine. Because if you're in, you know, if everything goes to plan from the start to the bottom of the run, you're in like a pretty good position.
Sure.
You know, biomechanics, you know, you got straight back. It's pretty, you know, in line. We've got some good symmetry. You know, you don't have one side of your body being bigger than the other.
Right.
Like in lots of, you know, track sports, like, you know, speed skating, they're always going around one way.
Right.
So, you know, you get your right side of your body a lot stronger than your left. So, you know, you get muscle, you know, sore pain like that. Once I was speaking to a ping pong player. And so she was saying, oh, you know, how's your back and everything? I was like, it's all right. And she had, you know, herniated discs because, you know, also they're doing 350 days a year. They're playing ping pong, you know.
Yeah.
Days in the year that we're hitting moguls at 100% is about 80.
Right.
So, you know, we're saved from all these overuse injuries, just repetitive stress. So
definitely, yeah.
Something I find interesting as well.
Yeah, definitely an interesting, you know, and the interesting thing as well is that volume's kind of, I feel like it's gone up more than it used to be, at least here in the state. Like you would, at least when I, you know, in the middle of my career, be like, okay, you're done. As season's over after nationals, and then it's like, okay, maybe you go to Whistler or you go to Hood in like July for like a couple weeks, and then you don't do anything, at least when I was younger, until like selections you'd show up. And then it became, okay, now you have fall training. Now you have Australia, if you can go in the summer. Now you have all these different, so the volume came like more and more and more, which I think creates it makes it a little bit interesting, because one of the things that I think can be difficult, as we touched on earlier, is like I think you need some sort of mental break. You need a little bit to not be thinking about, not only the physical break of you only have so many bumps in you before something's going to go wrong. You need a little bit of that mental break, I think, as well, because, burnout can definitely happen, and to be able to have that break to just go live life and hang out with friends. And
for sure. Yeah. To not be a mogul skier or not be a pro athlete for sometimes it's just, so good, isn't it? And yeah, that's, so important. I don't feel like I'm ever tired physically. I never get like that sore or whatever. It's just sometimes I just get roasted mentally, just completely zonked. And some races you can still ski good when you got sore legs, but if you're just fried mentally, you just can't concentrate, can't get any energy going. So you have to protect that energy a lot. So yeah. But it's hard to, it's something that I struggle with, resting. But I think, everyone needs to find their way of resting. Is it just doing absolutely nothing? Or is it just being active, but doing something completely different? Because if you go and play another sport and, you spend the day without thinking once about mogul skiing, but you're doing another sport, you're still resting your mind and your body, because it's something completely different. So
yeah.
Just finding what works for you with that, I'd say. Yeah.
So what are some of those things that you like to do when you're not thinking about mogul skiing? What helps you relax?
I've got into golf recently.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been having fun with that, and so it's just awesome, because it's it's an outdoor sport, very addictive sport. I'd say that's something that's probably, I would say that's the only thing that makes me good. It's just that I've just got very addictive behavior. Like I go and play golf and I'm like, just super addicted to it. And the same with skiing and everything. So yeah, got into golf, and it's been awesome as well to be a beginner again, to be a beginner at something.
Okay.
Because you realize that, the thing, I'm just learning to learn again. Because after a while, you've been skiing for so long, and you have all these like just things that get in the way. Like, you're on your skis and you're like, oh, well, I'm ranked this in the world. I should be doing this. What are my rivals doing? I should be doing this. I've been doing this trick for 10 years and you still can't land it properly. You just all these, thoughts.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a beginner, you just have no expectations. You just go and you do your shots, and even if you're playing bad shots, you're just still playing golf. So it's some stuff to bring into skiing. You should always be a beginner when you're trying to learn.
No, definitely. That's a good piece of advice for those out there. Now, what in your daily, like, what kind of helps you stay focused and kind of to when you're going into, whether it's a fitness camp like you're kind of doing now? I mean, what helps you kind of prioritize and take care of what you need to each and every day or every week, so you're kind of on top of your game, at least where you want to be?
So I'd say I just like getting better. So if and that's so if I can wake up and get better at something, that will be it'll just feel healthy for me. And then I'll be able to just chill out in the evening and get some good rest. So yeah, so I'd say that's important for me. Just trying to learn something, get better at something during the day, and then I'll be a happy man in the evening.
So yeah. And what are some of those like main habits that you would say you've kind of built over the years to kind of create the success that you've had so far?
I'd say so. The best thing has been just this calmness and mindfulness. Even like meditation sort of thing. Just being cutting out a bit of stimulation, just overstimulation, where you just you're like, I need where you can't just be calm and concentrated on one thing that you're doing. So I'd say that's a definite thing. But then also, all these things about, like marginal gains, like always looking for this, crazy thing, this crazy habit, this new habit to make you better. You can get lost in that, like marginal gains is, it's, it's like, am I sleeping in the right bed to get the right rest? Am I, I'm sleeping on the right pillow? Am I eating at the right time?
Sure.
And sometimes so these are the things that are going to make you perform 1% better. And sometimes you can get lost in these things. You're giving 50% of your time to something that's going to make you only 1% better, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So make sure that the big chunks of your training, the big 50%, doing your jumps, doing your skiing, the actual training that's going to make you a better mogul skier. Get that down, and then the little stuff is not as important. That's something that's very personal to me.
Sure. Yeah. No, but I mean, I think that makes, it makes a ton of sense because, especially over here in the States, everybody's looking for that little 1% or that one little sliver each and every day, very much keep up with the Joneses and what's the next big thing.
Yeah.
You do this and you do that. And you kind of, I think, lose that perspective, right? Of like, well, at the end of the day, it's a fucking mogul course and it's bumps and it's jumps or whatever else it may be, whether you got a meeting you're taking care of or you're running on a track, football, whatever that may be. Don't lose sight of what actually you need to do.
Exactly. Like just an example is, like, I should get into, I don't know, like deep water diving. So I've got better concentration, and you end up spending hours of doing that. Instead of actually just, going and doing a bit of trampolining.
Right.
Because I want to do this to improve my concentration. But guess what? When you're trampolining, you're improving your concentration as well. Because you've got to think about your back four, your double cork or whatever you're doing. So, so that's what I'd say.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely great. That's good advice for those out there. Now, who, like, throughout your career and everything else, who are those people that really kind of helped you along the way? A lot of people, it's a mom or dad or a certain coach or that have kind of helped the career, helped bring you to where you are. So who would some of those people be for you?
So I definitely say my mom and dad, because they were just, skiing, mogul skiing has always been my thing. They were never too involved, never over involved, but they were there to take me down to trampoline in 3 days a week. They're there to take me to whatever I wanted to go. So yeah, just, perfect balance with my mom and dad, which was awesome. I'd say my fitness coach, because he's been an awesome influence in my life. Because it's not just fitness at the end of the day. Doing sport is just a very healthy thing to do. You get so much self-confidence out of you pushing your limits in the gym, and so yeah, he was a really important person in my life when I was becoming a man, when I was moving up in my ski career. So that was pretty awesome. And I'd say my hometown coach, because it's a very important time in an athlete's career, the beginning.
Sure.
Because and he just managed to. We have this awesome group in Chatel, lots of kids, the same age, and we were just vibing together. And he just managed to create this just great passion. Because that's, for me, that's the most important thing for a kid. It's not having your hands forwards. It's not, shin pressure or,
right.
It's nothing technical. It's just lighting fire in that kid's belly. So he has enough passion to see him throughout, messing up World Cups, messing, whatever. Just so he has enough passion to push through it all.
Yeah, no, I think that that's definitely true. And it's interesting. The fitness coach, that's the first one I've had that, the fitness coach, but I mean, it as you say it, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, especially, an influential time in your life and kind of building in and creating good habits. Right. I mean, it's one of those things that, I think can definitely be overlooked. So that's a interesting, I like the list.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So What do you think, kind of looking back on the last few years and everything else, kind of moving forward? How much longer do you plan on going physically and mentally? I mean, are you planning on this Olympics and another Olympics, or do you not think that far ahead? You're kind of like, you know what, I'm just worried about fitness training tomorrow, and we'll see kind of as my body feels, or do you have that laid out?
No, I do try to have a long-term plan and just a vision. And
Sure.
I wish I had more, of a long-term plan and vision when I started out in World Cup. So it's something I try to stick to now. So I'd say these Olympics and then the next ones.
Okay.
Just because, as I said, I still feel pretty good physically. Like better than ever. And just because I'm learning so much, it'd be a shame to stop now. Because as I said, I'm just like, I've just learned so much. I found that during years I was not training well, and now I've got back to training well. So just changed my diet. As I said, being a beginner at training. An important one for me as well is like a good training session now is not necessarily when I go up and I do good double falls, because it's a bad training session is when you rock up and you don't think about anything and you just go through the process, sort of thing. It's always nice to do good jumps, but a good training session is when, like, if your objective is to have 2 arms on the takeoff, a good training session is when every single jump you've just tried to have your 2 arms at the exit.
Right.
And a bad session would be just, not sticking to that.
Right. So, kind of just going through the motions, not staying focused on what you're kind of work on. Just like, oh, training's over, we're done. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'd say another Olympics for sure. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I think that, one of those things that really is interesting is that you don't think about it when you're younger, but as you start to become more mature, and I think it's important for some of those younger kids that are probably out there listening, that you can't get the training day back. And I think, like, as you get older and you're further along in your career, like, it's important to remember, as you say, like, be focused, whether it's the one thing with focusing on your arms on that double full, and you might not do it every time, but you're focusing on that one key or whatever it is for the day. Like, you can't let that day slip away, because you're never going to get it back.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And one thing that's interesting, Marcel Hirscher, the best alpine skier ever, just before the 2018 Olympics, he injured his ankle, and he said that he never trained so well, because when he got back from injury, his number of days were counted. So he needed to get better at every single turn. So he said to himself, "Oh, every single turn I need to get better, because I don't have that many turns before the World Cup." And it's that just added intensity that he had to his training that made him so good. So every single turn, every single jump should have a proper intention, and you need to bring a good intensity to that intention.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely makes a difference for sure. Now, for you, kind of going in, I'm just curious how different, we touched a little bit on the World Cup season, but how different was it just kind of dealing with COVID and having that whole transition of, now you got a bunch of different testing, and, one of the great things about our sport is that it is a small kind of tight-knit community, and you get to see everybody, and it was kind of just a much, much different world last year. So I'm just kind of curious for you and your team, kind of how was that last year?
Yeah, but before I say anything, we were just super lucky to be able to compete, be able to to go on with our lives. Everyone was healthy in the team, so that was just such a blessing. But yeah, it was tough. Like, you were sometimes more stressed about getting a negative COVID test than your actual World Cup. So that was pretty stressful, and also leading up to the when you were back home. You wouldn't go out as much, you wouldn't see your friends as much, because you needed to turn up with a negative test result, and also you felt a responsibility towards the team, because if you were positive, then it was the whole team that wouldn't race. So So yeah, it was a stressful year, but as I said, because you were so dependent on the others, it made us stronger as a team, I'd say. And yeah, just so lucky to be able to race even with all this COVID stuff going on in the world. So yeah, hopefully we'll have a good season. And it definitely changed the dynamic of the World Cup as well. As you said, yeah, we're always, we're all pretty friendly with each other, and it was pretty tense first World Cups. Everyone was pretty stressed, and then the second World Cup with the holidays behind them, because you're a bit less stressed about the COVID test results. Everyone was a bit more chill, so it was pretty nice. But definitely looking forward to some post World Cup parties, because we've missed them.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm sure it's one of those things that you kind of take for granted, and it's funny.
Sure,
it's
right.
What's happened just in the last year. Like I remember my wife went over to go. She was going to ski the final World Cup of the year in Sweden. I think it was in Sweden, and she flew over there.
Oh, yeah.
Like first or second, they did like the first 2 days of training, and then they canceled the event, and they flew like right back home. And I'm still working my other job and interacting with people like each and every day. So she like comes home, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna quarantine you off, because I don't know, so just super funny of how you didn't really know what was going to happen. I mean, we're wiping down groceries and all kinds of stuff with like Lysol wipes, and it's interesting just looking back on those times and how scary it kind of was, and how hopefully the Delta variant and everything, we're kind of moving hopefully in the right direction there, and we can have a good, safe ski season and good Olympics this year.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have a season where every event can go ahead, and we'll do our best at every event. Yeah. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for taking the time, my man. I really do appreciate you coming on, and good luck with the rest of the summer training and this fall. And I'll see you a little bit later this fall.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and I enjoyed the chat, and see you soon on the World Cup.
All right, thanks everybody.